Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here today, for joining us for Chakra, the science of aliveness. We're going to start just by setting a little bit of an intention. So if you would sit up tall, close the eyes. Take a nice breath in and a nice breath out. And just feel that you have arrived. And feel that you are grounded, stable, strong, steadfast. And feel that you are also open, creative, inquiring, and curious. Feel that there's a sense of empowerment, a sense of compassionate discipline, a longing for wisdom, and a power to your breath in and your breath out that you understand to be supportive. And that there is compassion and love, empathy, a dedication to truth, truthfulness in expression, kindness in expression, harmlessness in expression. That there's a sense of wisdom and being open to understanding even more truth, embracing even more truth, realizing the truth of yourself, the truth of all others, and the highest possible truth. And then there is connection. There is a gateway between the physical and the universal, between the material and the ethereal, between you and whatever name it is that you call the divine, the God, the goddess. And in this moment, have all of those awarenesses present with you. And just notice how in the midst of those awarenesses, there's not a lot of room for anything else. Just awareness of all the gifts that you have been given in this life, of all the beauty that exists within, without, and around, and throughout, of the mystery, of the resolution, and of the truth. So take a moment now to set an intention for our session today. Perhaps one of these areas that I've mentioned have been a challenge for you recently, or maybe you just have some curiosity about how far you can take your understanding. Whatever it happens to be for you, set a simple intention around that. For example, I long to express my courage. I long for truth and am open to the embracing of truth. Whatever intention you come to, repeat it silently to yourself 3 times. Allow each word to have great meaning. And drawing the hands together in front of the heart, together we'll lift our voices in one beautiful Om. Take a nice breath in. And bowing the head to the heart, acknowledging all that is. And then draw the face to center, release the hands, and gently flutter the eyes open. Welcome. So how many of you are familiar with the chakras? How many of you are not at all familiar with the chakras? How many of you this much? Okay, very good. Very good. So some of what we're going to talk about today, those of you who have a lot of experience, it may be a revisiting. For those of you who do not have a lot of experience, it may seem like a lot of information. Just allow yourself to listen and to hear what it is that you need to hear. And don't worry about the rest of it. You will keep whatever we talk about in your mind and you'll draw it forward when it's needed. You don't need to remember every single little thing or understand every little thing right now. And so the first thing to know is that allowing yourself to simply receive is part of feeling secure. It's part of safety. It's part of not being threatened by the idea that you're going to receive a lot of information. And if you're anything like me or any other human being, there's a tendency to begin to feel insecure when we're going to receive a lot. And then we start worrying about not remembering. So just let that go and understand that part of developing or manifesting a safe foundation is knowing when to let go and knowing when to hold on. So just receive. My name is Dr. Sudha Mataji, and I'm here from Kula Kamala Foundation, which is located in Alsace, Pennsylvania, out near Reading. And we are a yoga ashram. We focus on the spiritual path of yoga, including postural practices, meditation, food, lifestyle, scriptural study, and the study of all the sciences, including chakra science, Ayurveda science, yoga therapy science. So the entirety of yoga. And I'm so happy to be here today to talk with you about the chakras. And so a chakra is an energetic vortex within your body. And there are also chakras outside of your body. There are chakras at certain places on this planet. For example, they're called vortexes. Anybody ever hear of the Sedona vortexes? Those are like chakras. And there are a certain number of circulatory paths that are intersecting there that we could relate to the nadis of the human body, which are energetic pathways, and they create a very special energy, and people are drawn to that. You have a minimum 7 of those primary energetic centers in your body, and they run right up the center column of the body. So 7 energetic vortexes. Some scriptures say that there are as many as 189, and some scriptures say that there are as few as 12. But that there generally are 6 or 7 that are primary and the rest are considered secondary. These primary ones are responsible for all the qualities that we just talked about at the very beginning of class. That we talked about security, safety, foundation, creativity, curiosity, a sense of empowerment, sense of compassion and empathy, truthfulness and true expression, wisdom, and spiritual awakening. And they are stacked on top of one another in such a way that we can look at them a little bit like a ladder. So that if there's something off in the lower chakras, in the chakras that are more earth-based, then you know that it's going to be very challenging, very difficult to experience balance in the upper chakras. If we want to experience an opening in our wisdom, a commitment to the truth, then we need to have a bit of a safe foundation to do so. If our foundation is rocky, then truth is also going to become a bit rocky. So one of the things that you'll hear many teachers talk about when they discuss the chakras is that if you're feeling unsafe, wear the color red. If you're feeling ungrounded, wear a red garnet in your jewelry, you know? And there is some small amount of validity to that, but it's a small amount of validity. Because without the appropriate lifestyle changes, the color you wear and the gemstones you wear don't really mean very much. They're not going to orient their energy to supporting you. The second thing to know when we're talking about the chakras is that we're talking about a lifestyle. We're saying that if you feel that the lower chakra, the first chakra, the Muladhara chakra, is not balanced and you're experiencing insecurity or fear or a lack of stability, then there comes a responsibility to investigate why. And then to look into that and to make lifestyle appropriate decisions in order to enhance foundation, enhance security, and enhance safety. Does that make sense? Without the lifestyle changes, there's no amount of essential oils that are going to do anything for you. And I really hate to sound like, like the Debbie Downer of that, but it's the truth. You can go and spend a nice amount of money on some very beautiful smells, but if you're not doing the work yourself in aligning the physiology of your own being and the energetics of your own being, then the outside stuff isn't going to make any difference. In yoga, we strongly feel your work is internal, not external. There is nothing you can buy. There is no conference you can attend. There is no doctor you can visit who is going to fix you. The only thing that is going to fix you is you, is you, is you. And that's the utmost empowerment. The utmost empowerment is that you have the power in your own heart and in your own mind to draw these chakras and all their qualities into a place of balance so that you can thrive, experience a great degree of happiness and peace, and feel all the beautiful qualities that are associated with them. And in doing so, the wonderful thing is that every relationship you ever have will be influenced by that. And so you will spread like a great contagion, that your joy, your happiness, and your balance will become a bit catchy, like a cold. And suddenly people will want to know what you're doing. And you'll say, I'm changing my life. And they'll say, how? And then you're supporting them in changing theirs. So it's a beautiful, beautiful circle, a beautiful circle. So the sacredness of aliveness, it's all about life. Wonderful. So join me in this prayer, if everybody can see it from where they're sitting. Wake up, Mother Kundalini, thou whose nature is bliss eternal, the bliss of Brahman, thou dwelling like a serpent, asleep at the lotus of Muladhara. Sore, affected, and distressed am I in body and mind. Do thou bless me, and leave thy place at the basic lotus, consort of Shiva, the self-caused Lord of the universe. Do thou take thy upward course through the center channel, leaving behind Swadhisthana, Manipuraka, Anahata, Vishuddha, and Agnya. Be thou united with Shiva, thy Lord the God. Be at Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus in the brain. Sport there freely, O Mother of supreme bliss, Mother who is existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Wake up, Mother Kundalini. Wake up. A call to the Mother. So the beautiful thing to understand is that the chakras in the body, even though they hold masculine and feminine qualities, they are inherently feminine because they're the home of the Shakti Kundalini. They're the home of the Mother who sleeps dormant in our body. Now in the yoga sciences, they say that this Kundalini is a mystical energy which is coiled at a minimum 3 times, sleeping at the very base of the groin, right in front of your sacrum, which is the triangular bone at the base of the spine. And now she's just kind of snoozing. While you're having fun living your life, getting lost, being found, going up, coming down, laughing, crying, all these wonderful things, she's just waiting. She's taking a little nap, she's taking her cosmic nap. And then a moment comes. And in a moment, maybe you meet a teacher or a great saint, or maybe you have an experience that causes you to have an awakening experience, that causes you to see very, very clearly who you really are. And then all of a sudden she goes, whoa, and she starts to rise up. And as she rises up, it's called piercing the chakras. She begins to pierce the root, the sacral, the solar, the heart, the throat, and even the third eye. And every time that she pierces the chakra, what ends up happening is that whatever imbalance is there is cleared, at least for a few moments. And then guess what happens? Life. Yeah, exactly. So if you don't have the lifestyle adjustments going on to support that awakening, it actually can have a pretty negative effect on your nervous system, because it takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of courage, a lot of clarity to have your chakras align and to have you awaken. And as the great master Yogi Bhajan used to say, be careful those who are practicing Kundalini Yoga, because if you are not so prepared, when she arises, she will blow the top of your head off. Yeah, brains everywhere. Not exactly what he meant. What he meant was that your nervous system will become fried. And you'll end up with anxiety disorders, and you'll end up with nervousness, and you'll end up with more fear. So we need to have the lifestyle in place to support the spiritual work so that when the Kundalini begins to awaken, we can hold into that, and we can have faith what we call in yoga Shraddha. We can have faith in the awakening, that that is what is meant to be happening, and that we're safe, and that we are curious and creative, and that we are empowered, and that we are love, and that love is everything, and that is our truth, and we are wise to know it. And then the bridge opens, and we're reunited. So the Kundalini, the prayer to the Mother Kundalini. Now Kundalini, and I just said many of these things to you, but just one or two other points to make is that the word Kundalini is mentioned in the 86th Upanishad, which is one of the scriptural texts from India. So whenever you hear about chakras, a lot of people think the chakras are a new age phenomenon. They're not. They're ancient. The chakras have been around since the Vedas. You know, they've been around for thousands upon thousands of years. And it doesn't matter the incarnation of them or how a person talks about them. The origin of our understanding of these energetic vortexes in the body come from India, and from India alone. So one of the earliest commentaries on the chakras is from the 86th Upanishad. And they are talked about in relationship to Shakti, which we just went over. In here, Vasishtha stated that Kundalini is the seat of absolute knowledge. Awareness of the energy Kundalini within the body was considered by saints and sages to be the gateway to the highest knowledge. Now think about what that means. So if you are working with a lot of fear in your life, and that fear is stopping you from going out, stopping you from experiencing travel, stopping you from falling in love, stopping you from having relationship, from having friends, from having experiences of being alive, which is what you're here to do, then how will you ever gain knowledge? Knowledge of who you really are, knowledge of your purpose in life. So that the Kundalini Shakti is the seat of knowledge means that when she is awoken, we have a knowing. We know without question what the truth is. And then we begin to walk through the world with more courage, with open eyes, to see the truth of both the violence and the healing. But neither one stops us. We just keep going. We keep walking. We keep experiencing. We keep growing. We keep receiving, and we keep offering. And we just do our work. It's a beautiful, beautiful lifestyle. The other thing to know, besides the term Kundalini, is the term Bindu. Now, a Bindu is a dot you'll typically see on many Hindu women. Sometimes they have a black or a yellow dot. Sometimes they also have gemstones that are right between the eyebrows at the third eye center. They represent certain social standards and statuses, but it also represents the third eye. And it represents a bit of an offering to the third eye to awaken the energy in that area of the body and in the area of the energetic system of the body. It means point or drop, and it's a center for cosmic sound vibration. So this is amazing because actually every chakra has a bindu, even though the only ones that we might be aware of are the ones that are worn on the third eye. Every chakra inherently has a bindu in its sacred geometry, a space where energetic vibration occurs. Who knows the seed sounds for the chakras? Anybody?
I know my phone, not memorized.
Ah,
Lam,
very good.
Lam,
Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Om. Yeah, yeah, very good. And sometimes the crown is silent and sometimes it's a little bit of an AUM sound, yes. So those seed sounds are called nada, cosmic sacred vibration. Think of it this way. As you're walking through life, life is a vibration. Everything that happens is a vibration. And everything that happens around you and within you has a vibrational quality to it. If you walk up to this cement wall and you hit this cement wall, the cosmic vibration of that is probably going to throw your chakras into a bit of a tizzy. But if you sit down and meditate, and you pay attention to your breath, and you sit in an aligned posture, and you pay attention to the beating of your heart, or to the nothingness that is there, that also has a divine cosmic vibration that aligns the chakras, that actually causes them to vibrate themselves out of suffering and into balance. The language that's associated with chakras is the Sanskrit language. And everybody here is fairly aware that Sanskrit came from India, and it's a very ancient language, actually came from God, but originally gifted to the what we now call the Indian nation. The Sanskrit language is nada. It is the cosmic vibration, and it has resonance in your body as energetic tones. And every chakra has a lotus flower associated with it and a sacred geometry. And the flower has a certain number of petals. And each petal has a different sound from the Sanskrit language. So that when you chant Om Namah Shivaya or Lam Vam Ram Yam Ham Om, you're chanting sacred sounds that are vibrating certain parts of your body and that are clearing them out, as Rumi said, for some greater delight. So your chanting is inviting the sacred sound to clean you up and to hold space, to manifest space, so that you can release the things or resolve the things that can be released or resolved, and so that you can spend more time on the activities that actually build you up as a human being and as a spiritual being having a human experience. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Am I going too fast? Are we good? Any questions so far? That's a lot, right? Like, that's enough for now, don't you think? Like, what are we just going to do with that? I know, it's like the mystery has begun to be solved. Yeah. So somebody here, share with me, what was the last thing that you did in your life that was spiritually intended, that really allowed you to experience an opening that you have not felt in a while? What's something that you did? Something, maybe you prayed, or I don't know. Alejandro, I see your hand up. What was the last thing that you did that gave you spiritual upliftedness?
Recently, the change of the meditation practice, in which it's simply just visualizing the screen of the mind with the eyes closed and just gazing in the center.
And gazing in the center.
And how that begins to unravel pretty much everything we've been speaking about.
Yeah. And so most meditation practices are somehow externally oriented. Whether you're focusing your visualization on a flower, or gazing at a point on the wall, or holding on to the breath, whatever it happens to be. But when you start to take that meditation inward and you start focusing on just the blank space, then that's lifting that meditation up to a higher vibrational quality, because it's reducing the amount of distractions that you're going to experience. Because you can focus on the breath while you're meditating. It's a beautiful practice and it's useful, and you should definitely do it as a beginning step. But the moment that there's a hiccup in the breath, then there is a hiccup in the meditation. So the idea is to move beyond the distraction of the hiccup and lift the vibration of the meditation higher. Then the vibration of the meditation will become even more powerful and have more power to heal whatever it is that needs to be healed within the body. So from there, you're moving from perhaps the heart and throat, and maybe even the solar plexus, because meditation is a discipline. You got to sit there. You got to be quiet. You got to be still. You got to not get up and leave. You got to not think of other stuff. So you're taking it from kind of this earthen realm up into the heart, past the throat, up to the third eye center, and then somewhere behind the third eye center, there's another chakra called the Guru chakra. And this is the chakra of knowing. And when you are embracing relationship with the spiritual space within you, then you're talking to the Guru chakra. You're talking to the chakra of high wisdom, where the third eye is also wisdom, but the Guru chakra is a little bit higher wisdom. It's like the intellect and a high wisdom versus just knowing and accepting. You can still question a little bit into the third eye, and you probably will, because the ego is very bright and alive. But once you start working with the Guru chakra, then that questioning is alleviated, and there's just a sense of acceptance. And that's a very high vibrational quality. Does anybody else have something that they've done lately that has elevated them spiritually a little bit.
Yeah. An Akashic record reading.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting, and just understanding a little bit more about my soul and just my purpose in life.
And what are the qualities that that brought to you? How did it support you in feeling more uplifted?
Because it just really, for me, reaffirmed what I'm doing with my life is that the right direction.
So it gave you stability.
Yes, I'm just a lot more grounded. It's a lot more peaceful after it too, and it just just the insight that it gave into me as confirmation of me, that just made it a lot better to accept myself.
Yeah. So self-acceptance is Swadhisthana. So the first thing it gave you was stability, security, and a sense of safety. Yes, I'm on the right path. Second thing it gave was a sense of self-acceptance. That's the Swadhisthana chakra. Third thing it gave you was a sense of empowerment. So if I'm on the right path, then I can do this. So that's the Manipura chakra. Now you're at the heart. So what will you do with the heart?
Open it.
It was a trick question. Exactly. Open it. Yes. Open it. Completely. So you see, most of our experiences in life begin at the base chakra, begin at the Muladhara chakra, which actually means the root, and do have a tendency to work upward. We can begin up here, but if we begin at the third eye and we don't adjust some of the issues that we encounter and challenges with regard to the lower chakras, and by lower I just mean that they're physiologically below the third eye, not that they're lower valued, then the impact of the work we're doing at the third eye center will not hold as long as it could if we were addressing lifestyle and things like doubt, anger, frustration, prejudices, assumptions, and outdated belief systems. So nadis, we have 72,000 nadis in our body, and if you are not familiar with a nadi, you can kind of think of the veins in the body or the nervous system in the body, all those energetic channels. Well, there's another group of those channels, and they are to bring spiritual energy throughout the body. And there are 72,000 minor ones, and there are 3 major. The 3 major, the first is called Ida, I-D-A, and it's the left side of the body that it originates on, and it's feminine in its nature. And then there's Pingala, which is right side oriented and masculine in its nature. And then Sushumna, which is the central channel. Sushumna is the primary channel because it's the channel in which Kundalini is sleeping. It is also the channel in which the chakras are focused. So the chakras, for example, Manipura, the focus is right about here, but the range is from here to here, and maybe even from here to here. So there's some overlap in the effects and the energy of the chakras, but they do have a pinpoint where they emanate out from. And that point is where the nadis cross. So you have the Ida nadi running up the left leg, the Pingala nadi running up the right leg, and then somewhere in the groin area, they begin to wrap themselves around the Sushumna. And they make 5 different crosses. Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, and then the Vishuddha. Then they're side by side. Some people say that they're crisscrossed, but in the tradition that I study, they're side by side at the third eye, and then they open up at the crown, and they exist no longer because they become absorbed into the cosmic ethers. So there's no more separation there once you get up to the crown chakra. That's the 1,000-petaled lotus flower that's opening. Yeah. So these nadis, everywhere where there is a crisscross of a nadi, there's a knot called a granthi. And we have many granthis throughout our body. We can have a granthi in our knee. We can have a knot in our back. Anybody have a knot in their back recently? Doesn't that feel absolutely delightful? Yeah. So if you've ever had a knot, a Charlie horse is a knot, then you know that knots can cause you pain. Well, when you have knots in the nadis, it also causes pain. But the type of pain that it will typically manifest is psychological, emotional, mental pain, which will then translate itself into physical pain. So when we're working with the chakras and we're working to moderate our lifestyle in order to open up the vibration to a higher quality, what we're saying is we're loosening those knots. We got to be working on the emotional level, the mental level, the physical level, and the spiritual level. And then those knots become a little more open, and something magical happens, which is that circulation improves. Anybody here have any kind of blood pressure issues? You don't have to raise your hand, but if you do, this may mean something to you. High blood pressure is poor circulation, right? High blood pressure is a poor form of circulation. Low blood pressure is also a poor form of circulation. Edema is poor circulation. So physiologically speaking, we can name maybe 10,000 different illnesses that will illustrate for us what poor circulation is. You have edema, it's poor circulation. So the water sets into the feet and ankles and lower legs and causes other issues. You have a knot in the Manipura, right where the nadis cross. Well, that's also your center of breathing. So along with that knot in your energetic channel is going to come difficulties with breathing. And the moment that you have difficulties breathing, your nervous system suffers and you enter into a state of fight or flight. So the importance of loosening that knot is that by loosening the knot, you allow yourself to breathe more easily, which allows your nervous system to come back to a state of parasympathetic activity, which is relaxation. And your spiritual, energetic body is directly tied in with that. There's no separating them. So if you're not doing the lifestyle work, and if you're not doing the spiritual work, which is really the same, and if you are not even considering the relationship between lifestyle and physical, emotional, and mental pain, then I can suggest a couple of really great books that you can read. One is Candace Pert's Molecules of Emotion, which is a wonderful, wonderful book about how we hold our emotional energy in the tissues of our body and how it causes disease. That's tied right in to circulation. So physical circulation is important, mental and emotional circulation is important, and spiritual circulation is important. When we have all these types of circulations in a place where they're healthy and vibrant, then you have a healthy person. But the moment that there's a hiccup in one of them, we have a person who is suffering. And the primary teaching in yoga is Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. One of the primary teachings in yoga is may all beings be happy and free from suffering. And may my words, my actions, and my thoughts have something to do with that. May I cultivate myself into being a healthy person who is balanced physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually so that I don't hurt you. Because I know you've got your work to do, and I've got mine. So may we not quarrel. It's a beautiful wisdom to live by. It's a hard wisdom to live by if you're not working lifestyle with your chakras. Super important. Okay, so Sushumna. So here, Swami Shivananda said, when the breath flows through Sushumna, the mind becomes steady. So steady. So let's sit nice and tall. I'm going to do a little bit of a breathing practice and just kind of test that out. So take a moment before you close your eyes and just think about something that might gently irritate you. Not a major issue, just something that might gently irritate you. And just notice how, as you're thinking about it, you know, there might be an expression coming across the face, or maybe there's a little bit of a twitch. Maybe you're jolted. Yeah. Okay, so now keep that thought in your mind and close your eyes. And sitting very tall, as you breathe in, hopefully through the nostrils if possible, draw the breath all the way down to the base of the groin. And as you breathe out, draw the breath from the base of the groin all the way up the central channel and out the nostrils. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue breathing in that fashion. Allow the breath to be deep and mindful. Allow the breath to have so much of your attention, but this other thought is still there, hovering in the background. But notice how your relationship to it might be changing. As you continue to focus on the breath, is it as irritating? And if my saying that brought the irritation back, then focus on the breath again. Now breathe naturally, keep the eyes closed, and notice how your body feels. Do your feet feel stable into the ground? Does your spine feel tall and long? Does your body feel strong and stable? And does your mind feel open? Perhaps there's no stress or constriction in the brow. And now maybe even very gently invite that thought back again. Can you have a different relationship to it? Can you just allow it to be without disturbing your peace? And then gently flutter the eyes open. Now, how many of you found a thought that gently irritated you? Everybody was able to? How many of you felt a little bit of a relief when you started to breathe? Right? It's like instantaneous. So this is where I start to giggle a little bit, because it's like a no-brainer. You know, like if we all would just breathe, then this would be a much nicer world. So if it's that, it didn't even take 3 seconds. It took one breath in and one breath out, and that was it. You know, suddenly that thought lost its power. That thought lost its power, and your suffering was somewhat alleviated. So then, a little bit later, when you invited the thought back, did it have the same level of irritation as it did initially? No, because your nervous system was in a state of parasympathetic activity. You were relaxed and could see reality more clearly. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? It's like, that's why I love yoga, because it's a science as well as a spiritual practice. And when we can do that, when we can look at what challenges us with clearer eyes and a clearer mind and a clearer emotion, then we can find resolutions faster and solutions. And we can see that we don't always have to react, that in fact, sometimes we can just leave it alone. But if we are going to get involved, perhaps we can try responding instead of reacting. Now you've just begun to balance your chakras. So now your day is 24 hours long. Your week has 7 days in it. Anybody know the song from Rent? How many seconds are there in a day? There's one in every room, and I love that. I absolutely love that. But that's a whole lot of seconds, right? Yeah. So every one of those seconds is filled with approximately 14 million thoughts. Wow. Of those 14 million thoughts, like 13,996 you don't even know are happening. And then the other 4 are pretty major thoughts. So start with the 4 that are pretty major thoughts, you know, the ones that keep coming back to you. And start working with them, utilizing your breath, creating for yourself, manifesting for yourself a sense of security and stability, a sense of integration, so that you are the one in charge and not your ego. You are the one in charge, not the experience you're having. You're the one in charge. And you're in charge of what? Your own health, your own wellness, and your own wholeness, your own sense of being. It is a beautiful thing. So Swami Shivananda's words, very strong. He also said, when the nadi are full of toxins, the breath cannot flow into the main channel, and meditation will be suffering. So what does he mean by toxins? Well, the food we eat, how much we don't sleep, how much we don't exercise, how much we don't get fresh air, clean water, how much we don't take care of ourselves when we sit in turmoil over things that we could resolve if we wanted to, if we chose to, and if we actively sought out the tools in order to resolve them. I'm not one of those people who says that trauma's all in the head of the individual, because I've had a lot of trauma in my life and I was in therapy for a very long time for it. Very abusive childhood, in therapy for about 15 years on and off, in order to overcome and to understand and to accept and to heal. But first you have to know the tool is there. So that requires at least one window open slightly, the window of your curiosity. That is the Swadhisthana chakra. All your curiosity comes from here. How curious are you about your own healing? How much do you want to heal? Do you want to know yourself as a whole person, as a complete person, as the best possible version of yourself? Or are you happy with the day-to-day, I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough? Is that the way you would like to spend the rest of your life? And if it is, that's fine. But if it's not, then seek the tools to do the work. And don't use the experience as the excuse to not do the work or to not seek the tools. There's so many tools out there. The toxins are the negative emotions, the poor eating habits, the staying up too late, the sleeping in too late, the apathy, and the violence. Those are the toxins. So we can start removing those a little bit one at a time, and all of a sudden we'll see life will change and we'll become healthier people as a result. So the chakra is completely tied in with lifestyle. Questions at this point? Thoughts, reflections?
I'd like the name of that book about...
Candace Pert is the author. Her last name is spelled P-E-R-T. And the book is called Molecules of Emotion. The Molecules of Emotion. It's a great book. I don't even know how many times I've read it by now.
Having been recently sick from possibly emotion and stress and having it manifest physically in the muscles around my heart, it seems like something that I...
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And she's a scientist too. So what she's saying is coming from her position as a neuroscientist and her understanding of the human body from a medical perspective. P-E-R-T. Yep, P-E-R-T. So because the chakras are so closely associated with the nervous system in the body, it's important that we know a very important nerve, and that nerve is the vagus nerve. And as you can see from this picture here, the vagus nerve runs from the base of the skull all the way down to the base of the groin, and on its way, it marries into or touches into every single life-sustaining organ you have. Yeah, wow. So if your vagus nerve is shot because of stress, anxiety, trauma, then it's going to affect your heart, your lungs, your liver, your stomach, your pancreas, your kidneys, your spleen, and your colon, and everything else that those affect. And here's something else that I've always found so super amazing is that maybe 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, they called it by a different name. But the ancient sages and teachers of yoga knew that sitting in meditation actually tones that nerve. They said if you are suffering from heart, lungs, liver, spleen, stomach issues, digestive issues, sit. Because that vagus nerve runs right by the tailbone and right past the sacrum. So when you sit, you're putting pressure on it, which is toning it and allowing it to have greater circulation and allowing it to become stronger and more resilient. So meditation and yoga is a huge, huge part of balancing our chakras. It's not enough to say, you know, we can go buy the oil, that's great, smells very good, I have them too. I use Young Living every day. I also like Fluorocopia and a few others. I like doTERRA. Yeah, I like Fluorocopia a lot. And then we can wear red or green or orange or yellow, and that's okay psychologically because it does something to stimulate us psychologically into thinking that we're doing something for ourselves. We can wear a red garnet or a citrine or a piece of turquoise. We can carry it around in our pocket, and maybe the energetic vibrations of that will bring us some amount of comfort. But the things that are going to bring us the most comfort: lifestyle changes and meditation. Meditation is key, absolutely key, because meditation is where you meet yourself. And by sitting in meditation, it's also where you tone the vagus nerve, which helps to tone the rest of your nervous system. So a few routines to stimulate the vagus nerve. You can toss cold water on your face, that'll do it. You can chant mantra. Now mantra is typically sung in Sanskrit. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Shri Gurave Namaha. These are Sanskrit words and terms that are made of cosmic vibrational sounds that are tuned in to particular parts of your body. So every time you verbalize them, you're cleaning yourself out. So chanting mantra repetitiously, which is called japa mantra. So every morning getting up and chanting Om Shri Durgaye Namaha, Om Shri Durgaye Namaha, Om Shri Durgaye Namaha 108 times. Or Om Namah Shivaya 108 times. Or Hare Krishna 108 times. You can do May There Be Peace in the World 108 times, but that's not Sanskrit. So it will still have a positive psychological effect, but it will not interact with the chakras in the same exact way that the Sanskrit does. Because the Sanskrit are the more original sounds than the English sounds are. So mantra. So this practice called japa mantra, you can sit every morning and you can chant a Sanskrit mantra 27 times, 54 times, 108 times, and it will help to almost immediately start to soothe the nervous system and start to bring balance into the chakras. And here's the beautiful thing. You're like, but that's not lifestyle. Yes, it is. Because if you're chanting Om Namah Shivaya 108 times every day, or Om Gam Ganapataye 108 times, and I'll tell you a little bit about what they mean later, you are adopting into yourself the qualities of those mantras, which means that you are changing your day-to-day life based on what you're telling yourself. There's a song by Carrie Underwood that was pretty famous a few years back about he'll never cheat on me again. She took a bat and hit his Louisville Slugger, there you go, right? That song is like a mantra, only it's not in Sanskrit, thank goodness. And I remember when that first came out. I'm not a big radio person, so I don't listen to a lot of radio. But I was flipping through one day and I heard a little catchy melody. And I started listening to the catchy melody. Then she started singing. Beautiful voice, horrible words. So I turned it off. A couple weeks later, I'm driving and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just flip through the channels. That song was on again. Catchy melody, familiar to me. Stayed with it. Said, oh, you know, I'm good. I can listen to it. It's all right. Couldn't find anything else on the radio. So I'm listening to it. And initially, I'm kind of like, wow, this is a really violent song. A couple weeks later, now that song is on the radio and I'm listening to it. And now the attitude that I'm carrying in my body as I'm singing that song match the song. So that song became a mantra that gifted me with the quality of anger, with the quality of assumption, with the quality of violence. Because, you know, you're driving down the road and the radio's blaring and you're like, I'll teach you. And who are you talking to but nobody, you know? And then you go home and you have an attitude with your husband and you're not even sure why. Because he's like, hey, honey, I made you tea. That's nice. So there, the gift of the song, which became like a mantra, is the gift of anger. Well, you chant Om Namah Shivaya 108 times, and the gift of the song is love. You chant Om Shri Durgaye 108 times, and the gift of the mantra is courage. You chant Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha 108 times, and the gift of the mantra is the ability to resolve your challenges. It won't be in one fell swoop. It'll be over time. But it's a worthwhile investment, and it's one that directly affects your chakras and directly affects your life. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, we have Supta, say Supta.
Supta.
Guru,
Guru,
Prasadana,
Sadhana,
Yada,
Yada,
Jagarti,
Jagarti,
Kundali,
Kundali,
Tada,
Tada,
Sarvani,
Sarvani,
Padmani,
Padmani,
Vidyante,
Vidyante,
Granthayo,
Grantayo,
Pi,
Pi,
Cha.
Cha.
When the dormant Kundalini is aroused by the grace of a guru, then alone all the Padmas or lotuses and the Grantis are opened. Circulation occurs, Kundalini awakens, and you feel so vibrant, alive, healthy, and balanced. So, in addition to lifestyle and mantra and meditation, another path to adjusting your chakras is by having a guru. A guru is a specific kind of teacher. It is not your bartender. So many people say, oh, my bartender is my guru. It's like, not really. A guru is typically a saintly type person who has dedicated their entire life to the inquiry of spirituality. My guru is a monk from India. His name is Swami Aryatmanandaji. He's been a monk for 50 years. 50 years ago, he took a vow of renunciation, and he has spent his entire life in service of humanity and in service of a greater knowing and reunion with God and Goddess. So that's the type of person you can seek out for guidance in bringing your chakras into alignment and in awakening the Kundalini. Yeah. So when Kundalini is awakened, it's taken all the way up. On its way up, it drains all the energy from the nadis. On its way up, it drains all the energies from the nadis, takes them into the central channel where Shakti transforms them. It's kind of like alchemy, turns them into a golden ray of light, which emanates all the way up through the Vishuddha chakra, the Agna chakra, and finally the crown of the head, where it's called 1,000-petaled lotus opens, and the light, cosmic light, beams up and communes with the universal light. And in that moment, you are awakened. In that moment, you feel nothing but love. In that moment, you understand everything. Everything, the past, the present, the future. Why? Why not? You understand it all. There's no more questions. This is called knowing. It will pass. It won't last forever. It'll be probably like 30 seconds, or maybe 3. For some people, it may last a couple of hours or a couple of days. For very few people, it will last a few years at a time. But for most people, it will only be a temporary condition. And the way that you make sure that that condition remains with you more consistently is by continuing to do the practice that opened you up in the first place. Don't become doubtful or frustrated if one moment you have an awakening and the next moment you're back to, typical mistakes and judgments and tendencies. That's part of being human, the back and forth. When you can see no difference, really, between the awakening and the typical tendencies, then you will have come into a level of knowing something very important. That no matter where you are and what you're doing, no matter what you're involved in, it is your spiritual path and there's a purpose to it. Nothing in your life is purposeless. Everything in your life is a pathway to reunion and to reuniting yourself with your divine source. So even when we get to that point, we recognize, well, if I'm going to fall back into, relationship patterns that are harmful to myself or others, then I'm going to do so knowingly. I'm going to do so knowingly. And something interesting happens there. Because the moment that you say that to yourself, you start making different choices. It's like the moment you accept yourself exactly as you are, complete with all your flaws, you suddenly start changing your mind. And I don't really need that relationship right now, so I guess maybe I'm not going to go back there. But it would be okay if I did. So it actually changes you to come into a deeper level of acceptance and knowing. It can get a little complicated because no matter where you are, there needs to be acceptance. So whether you're hung up over a relationship, or you're experiencing an illness, or you're experiencing doubt, frustration, and anger, or you think you're awakened, no matter where you are, I say think you're awakened because, it's a rare thing. The greater knowing is accepting wherever you are and understanding that experience to hold so much for you, so much potential that has to do with you coming into a more complete and whole humanness, which is what we're here for. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. All right, so Shakti is corporeal energy at the base of the spine, and Shiva is what that Shakti transforms into, transmigrates into. So you've got the divine feminine in these lower three chakras, which are associated with the earth. And then around the bridge, the heart is considered to be the bridge between the earth and the mystical, between the material realm and the ethereal realm. And right around the heart is where that Shakti transmigrates into Shiva. Shiva comes into full force at the third eye because he is wisdom. Shiva is the essence of consciousness. And then once that energy reaches the crown of the head, you have Ardha Narishwara. Say Ardha.
Ardha.
Narish.
Narish.
Wara.
Vada.
Ardha Narishwara. Ardha Narishwara is symbolized by half male, half female. It is the Shiva and the Shakti forever united, never to be separated. It is yin and yang. It is dark and light. It is the beginning and the end. It is the opposites neutralized by coming together in cosmic union. And when the crown opens, that's what emerges, is no more preference. No more being pulled back and forth. Oh, if only it was this way, then I could have this. If only it was this way, I could have that. No, you're with whatever is, and you recognize it to be your path, to be the path you're meant to walk, and you just have faith in that path, and you keep walking it. And I love the visionary, the visual of Ardha Narishwara, because they're half male, half female. So the left side is the feminine, the right side is the masculine. There is no division between them. It means that there is no division between anything. There's no duality. There's no real division between you and I other than what we perceive there to be. I could say that, oh, I'm one with Ilona. We're one. We know each other, and we're good friends, and we see each other quite often at the ashram. And then somebody could walk in that I don't know, and I could say, well, I'm not one with them. See, that wouldn't happen with an individual who was awakened. They would not prefer one over the other. They would simply love them both. So love is another key to balancing your chakras. But really loving, coming away from the duality and into the non-duality, into the space of what we call oneness in yoga. Oneness is not just this, kind of coined phrase that looks really good on a t-shirt. So this oneness, this term oneness, is not just another word to throw around mindlessly. It's something to really look at and to ask ourselves, who do I embrace and who do I recoil from? And it's not about embracing the person you embrace more. It's about embracing the person that you don't. It's about finding a way to hold a space for that person that is as pure as the space that you hold for the person you love the most in this world. And then it's about finding a way to hold space for the person that you love the most in this world that is free of judgment and expectation. And then taking that lesson and extending it out to all others who cross your path. So love. So the guru, the love, the lifestyle, the mantra, the meditation, these are all so important in chakra work, so important. But you don't really hear that in chakra workshops, right? How many of you have heard this in chakra workshops before? Anybody? No. Oh, see, and that disappoints me, because I think you should all hear that over and over again in every workshop you go to. Because again, the red garnet is beautiful. I have a mala of them. I love them. I love chanting with them. They mean nothing without the mantra. I just accepted a position at Albright College as a chaplain for the students, faculty, and staff there. And the color is red. And I love the color red. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, yay, root chakra. But the color red isn't going to, because like t-shirts and stuff we have to wear on college day, But the red color isn't going to do anything for me if I'm not standing with both my feet on the ground, standing up straight and accepting where I am and who I am in any given moment. right? So we have to do the work to go along with the accoutrements. Yeah. So in the Yoga Kundalini Upanishad, which is another one of the scriptures, it says that there's a lot of obstacles to meditation. And there's a lot of obstacles to the awakening of Kundalini. And so these, just really quickly, thinking unity or peace is out of your reach. Having doubt that you can actually be peaceful. You know, you say, well, it's just too darn hard, man. You know, this person is too aggravating. It's all that person's fault. Why should I try? They got to do something. Has nothing to do with anybody but you. Nothing ever has anything to do with anyone but you. You're the one that has to heal yourself as best as you can in this life. No one else will do it because no one else knows you the way you know you. No one else does. They can love you, they can nurture you, they can care for you, and they can support you, but they can't heal you. A student one time said to me, "You're such a great healer." I said, "I'm not a healer. I'm a teacher. I'm not a healer. I can teach you things, but you're the only one who can put them into place. So you have to be your own healer." So if someone tells you, $1,300, I'll fix you up real good, say, no thank you. What I would like to learn are the tools necessary to bring the lifestyle into alignment so that my chakras can be healthy, my body, my mind, and my spirit can become united. I don't need a snake elixir. I need truth. So the more that we can stand into that, the less doubt we're going to have about the possibility of actually achieving peace in this life. So doubt is number 2. Carelessness and confusion. Don't stop asking questions. I love all religions and all traditions. I think they're all amazing and they all have a purpose. I was raised Catholic. And the one thing that I did not like about my personal experience within that tradition was that I was not allowed to ask questions. As a girl, little girl, I was definitely not allowed to ask questions. And it turned me off so much that I left. When I was old enough, I walked right away from it. You know what yoga tells you? Ask questions. And don't stop. Keep asking questions. Do not become careless in your understanding. Continue to look for clarity. Continue to look for the deeper answer. Because most answers are shallow at first, and they only address one small level of the onion. Rarely do they go very deep. So keep searching. Students sometimes say, I've been at this for a year, or a month, or 3 weeks. How come I'm not further along? I've been doing this for 30 years. How come I'm not further along? So because you're a complicated onion. You know, you're a complicated onion. So what levels are you at right now? Where is it that you're working within that paradigm of layers? That's the beauty of it, is that there's always another layer. There's always another freaking layer. So just let that go and stop thinking that this is it. Today's the day. My enlightenment is here to stay. No. And don't let those types of expectations cause you to have disturbance in your dedication to your practices. Sleep when you're not getting enough or too much is also an obstacle. Attachment to sense objects. So you have a mala that you chant with, wonderful. You lose your mala, no big deal, chant anyway. You have a particular meditation cushion that you sit on, and you walk into class one day and someone else is sitting on your meditation cushion? Oh my God, can't meditate now? Yeah, let the cushion go. Do the meditation. Don't grasp onto objects, no matter what they are. No matter what they're, and that means people too. Erroneous perception or delusion. So if you hear something and it doesn't sound right to you, don't just accept it as truth. What I'm saying to you today, please don't take my word for it. You've got to try it on for size. And if you find that it is not suitable to you, then don't practice it. You should only practice those things that have meaning to you. But you should not practice things that have erroneous meaning to you. So just make sure that you're looking for wisdom, and if you're acquiring wisdom from a practice, that's wonderful. Continue practicing that. But if you're just kind of dilly-dallying and wasting your time, and we all know when we're doing that, let that practice go, because it's not the time for it. And maybe it's not even the proper practice for you. Too much concern with worldly affairs and gossip. Stay away from the water cooler. So concern with worldly affairs and gossip. When we start talking about other people and we start pointing out all of their flaws in a way that is harmful and derogatory, then the only thing that means is that we're not attending to our own issues. So we need to stop talking poorly about people, no matter who they are. You know, I'm not a huge fan of our current president. But the one thing that really hurts my heart is when I hear people name calling. Because when has that ever cured anything? When I see people behaving in ways that are so harmful and detrimental, when has that ever solved anything? Violence will never solve violence. You don't agree with the policies of the current legislation? You don't agree with something that's happening in your office politics? Don't resort to bashing people. Don't resort to violence. Get up and do something. Get up and make a movement. Be the change, like Gandhi said. Don't resort to violence. Resort to love, kindness, and intention. You don't necessarily have to throw your arms around the guy and say, hey, I love you. But if you say, hey, I hate you, then you're not working for oneness. And it really is that simple. It really is. Want of faith. So in yoga, the word for faith is shraddha. I love that word. It's my favorite Sanskrit word. Say that, shraddha. Isn't that beautiful? It's got a quality to it. It's like shraddha. You say it and it's like chocolate, you want more. Shraddha. Say it again, shraddha. Shraddha. Hear the chocolate in there? Yeah. Shraddha. So shraddha is very important. It means the quality that you bring about and infuse into the thing that you're doing. Faith. So how much faith do we have in ourselves and our abilities? How much faith do we have in our ability to heal? How much faith do we have that there's even a God or a goddess? You know, we say those words a lot of the time, but have we spent some time interacting with that energy, with that essence, with the qualities that has, or that our tradition tells us that it has, and cultivated a relationship with it? Cultivating a relationship with God and Goddess on whatever level is appropriate for you in your tradition is important, because that's what deepens your faith. Not cultivating a relationship with that is what tears your faith away. And faith that is torn from asunder means that your chakras are suffering greatly. And the only thing that will really support them in healing is to redevelop that faith again. And that's a long, hard path. Long, hard path. Inability to accept or understand higher truths. And here's an example of that. Person A has a conflict with person B. Person C is trying to give them some guidance. And person A just continues to say, but what about person C? Like, I'm not the one who's responsible here. Person B, rather, is the one who should be doing this, not me. Well, that's an inability to understand that each person has their own responsibility. And that if there's a relationship between two people, then two people are responsible. Always. If there's a relationship between three people, then three people are responsible. If there's a relationship between 10,000 people, 10,000 people are responsible. It's called communal karma. We are all responsible. So the greatest thing that we can do when we're working to align our chakras and come into a healthier state of being is to accept self-responsibility to whatever degree we can. And it's not a cold, hard responsibility of blame or, oh man, I'm such a bad person. No, it's compassion. It's compassion. And it is acceptance. And it's a willingness to do the work. It's a willingness to show up in our own life and to take whatever control we can in the greatest compassionate light possible and continue on. I just want to show you this slide. So here's the chakras lined up. You have the root, Swadhisthana, Manipura, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And these are also aligned with different glands in the body. So the Sahasrara chakra is the pineal gland, responsible for spirituality, responsible for our higher level of intuition. The awareness is the pituitary gland. Communication, or the throat chakra, is the thyroid gland. The heart is the thymus. The Manipura is the adrenal glands on the back of the body near the waistline, right on top of the kidneys. The gonads are the creativity, and that includes the ovaries for women. And then basic trust is the prostrate and the fallopian tubes. So think about this for a moment. Maybe this will resonate with somebody, maybe it won't. A woman who is highly stressed out, suffers from social anxiety, stress, does not have a strong relationship that is healthy with her partner or with her family, has very few friends, has fear a lot of the time. One of the things that you can see is that she's going to start having issues in her reproductive area. And one of those issues might actually end up being an inability to conceive. An individual who has a difficulty expressing and receiving love. An individual who doesn't have faith in love, who doesn't trust others or trust themselves. They're going to start showing up with issues in their thymus gland, around the heart area. An individual who doesn't trust their own judgment. An individual who second guesses themselves all the time and actually even resorts to calling themselves names, like stupid, is going to have issues with regard to both the pituitary and the pineal gland. And those issues are going to put them into what's called the primitive brain, which is the lizard brain, which is the sense of fight or flight in the body. And the more that an individual is situated in that sense of fight or flight, the less inspiration they'll have. And the reason for that is because the constant state of fight or flight in the nervous system takes a lot of energy. So you're feeding one or the other. You're either feeding your inspiration and your frontal lobe, or you're feeding the lizard and you're feeding your fear and your anger and your angst. They did a study, and what they found was that it was at, I think, AT&T or one of these huge organizations. And they had a couple of scenarios that they ran. And the one scenario took a group of employees and told them that if they didn't do better, that the company was probably going to have to downsize, and that they really had a responsibility to safeguard everybody's employment there. And they just kept telling them how, like, the future of this depends upon you and you and you. And they kept just running this home with them and telling them how they had to do better in order to avoid calamity. They had to do better in order to avoid calamity. Group number 2, they go in and they tell them, you know what, you're all doing so amazing. It's just amazing how much work you're doing. You know what we want to hear from you? We want to hear all your creative ideas. We want to know how we can pull ourselves forward from this moment in time where it seems like some of our marketing isn't working and our numbers are actually falling. We want you to be invested and involved. We want to give you the opportunity to have a say. Which group do you think did better? The second one. And you know what they found? They did some chemical tests and whatnot, blood chemical tests, and they found out that group A, that they were emitting higher levels of cortisol, and that the function of their frontal lobe was diminished in comparison to the lower portion of the brain, which is responsible for the initiation of the fight or flight response. And they showed the signature of energy that was going to the part of the brain responsible for igniting the fight or flight response was actually draining the frontal lobe. So they couldn't be inspired even if they wanted to. So now think about a woman who is in an abusive relationship where she's constantly being abused, constantly on the receiving end of insults and injury. Where does she get the inspiration to leave that relationship? She has no energy. Her energy is being drained into her nervous system where it's being fried, and her chakras are all misaligned because of that. So for that individual, it becomes super important for community to come forward. For community to come forward and to put some type of a space around this person so that they can have moments where they're building resiliency, where they're building positive, uplifting energy. Don't victim blame, Ask, what do you need? Don't victim blame. Victim blaming only puts them even more there. And think about what a wicked cycle that is. So they already have no energy for inspiration, then you call them, oh, it's all your fault because why aren't you leaving? You can just get up and leave. I would get up and leave. Now they feel even worse. Then you say it again. Well, see, now you're still not doing it. Now they're even worse. Pretty soon they're on the ground. And who's going to pick them up? They don't have any energy left over to pick themselves up. We have to come together and pick them up as a community. Yeah, so important. All right, let's see. We went over so much of this already. And so let's do this. Let's chant just a little bit. So have everybody sit up nice and tall. And we're going to chant 9 times each seed sound for each chakra. And as we're doing that, we're going to say something very simple that I'm going to introduce at the beginning. And you can just repeat it silently to yourself as you're chanting out loud the seed sound for the chakra. So the first chakra is Muladhara. And so for this one, we're going to say to ourselves silently, I am grounded, I am strong, I am stable. And we'll just keep thinking that to ourselves as we chant Lam. And we're going to chant Lam 9 times. So sit nice and tall, close the eyes. Remember, I am strong, I am grounded, I am stable. Lam. 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 Now sit with that energy and feel that you are strong, grounded, and stable. Next is the Swadhisthana Chakra. And so the statement to yourself will be, I accept myself completely. I'm curious about my own goodness and my own creativity. I am open to my own spiritual expression. And the seed sound is Vam. 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 I'm sitting with that energy. And next we come to Manipura. I am an empowered being. I shine like the light of 100,000 suns. And the seed sound here is Ram. 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 And then we come to the Anahata, that which is unstruck, the heart. And we say, I am the essence of love. And the seed sound is Yam. 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 And then we come to the throat, the Vishuddha chakra, and we say, I am the essence of truth, and I express that truth freely and openly. And the seed sound is hum. And then we come to the third eye center, the Agnya Chakra, the place of wisdom and knowledge, the seat of knowing. And we say silently to ourselves, I embrace wisdom. I embrace all that is knowing, all that is wise, all that is truth. And the sound is Om. And then drawing the awareness to the crown, Sahasrara Chakra, the 1,000-petaled lotus flower, the bridge, the gateway between the material world and the ethereal, between the earthly realm and the heavens, between this and that. And it's simply silence. And drawing the hands together in front of the heart. And together we'll lift our voices in one beautiful Om. Take a nice breath in. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere find peace, love, light, and happiness. May all beings know their oneness. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste. Thank you all so much for being here today, for joining me for this wonderful gathering. Any questions?
Where's your ashram? And you said that's by Reading?
Yes, so we're not in the city. We're just past Reading up on the mountain in a little town called Alsace. Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll be back tomorrow. If you're going to be here, I'll be doing a talk on Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance.
It has the name in the book there?
It does, yeah. Kula Kamala Foundation and Yoga Ashram. And you can also search for me, Sudha Alit, and you'll find me for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So any questions? Any answers? Yeah. Lots of answers, which open up many more questions. Many more questions. So tomorrow I will be doing a talk at 3:30 in this room, Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance. And we'll be talking about universal abundance and what that means and who that amazing goddess is and her importance in the yoga tradition. So I hope some of you join. Please know that you have my blessings and my love traveling with you today and every day. Thank you all so much for being here. Namaste. Thank you.